hear the word engineering, the Defence Forces isn't necessarily the first thought that comes to mind. But we're here in Lynch Camp in Kilworth to talk to Captain Diane Byrne and Lieutenant Stephen Ryan, and we're going to find out why the Corps of Engineers is known as the lifeline of the Defence Forces.
Welcome to Kilworth Camp. We're down on the Corps of Engineers annual tactical exercise. We've got some engineering projects on site today. Brilliant. Would you like to come have a look?
Loved it, that's great, yeah. So Steve and Diane, you're both engineers within the Defence Forces. You wouldn't necessarily think of engineering when you think of the Defence Forces. How exactly does it fit in?
I suppose engineering the Defence Forces is the wide palette of tasks, from bridging to trackway to explosives, battlefield area clearance, engineer specialist search and clearance, mine warfare, mine clearance. We're looking at firefighting, water purification, general engineering services. You're covering the full range really of military tasks in some way or another.
So really there's a huge range of skills involved in your job then. What did you study, Diane? How did you get here?
It was purely accidental. I wasn't aiming for the Defence Forces from childhood. It certainly wasn't a lifelong dream or anything like that. I came out of college, was applying for jobs around the various different areas, and the Defence Forces came up, and it was right time, right place.
So I was studying mechanical engineering in UCD, and towards the end of my final year I became interested in joining the Defence Forces. So after graduating I was successfully accepted to do a cadetship. I became aware of the fact that there was a small number of vacancies in the engineering corps, and because I'd had a degree in mechanical engineering I was eligible to apply.
So it's not necessarily a 9-to-5 job from the sounds of things. Can you talk us through what a typical day is like?
Well, in terms of a typical day, like they say the Defence Force is a life less ordinary, but it really is. Like there is no 9-to-5, certainly not in the past 6 months anyway. Just maybe by way of an example, like in this year I instructed on a course for 10 weeks. Like for the first number of weeks we could be out on a bridging site at 8 o'clock in the morning building bridges right through to 4, 5, 6 in the evening, and then later on in the course we move into the explosive module. So some days we might be in work for 5 a.m. in the morning. We might be gone till 8, 9 that night, basically setting up explosive practices and doing heavy demolitions, battle simulations.
I would spend a lot of my time dealing with contractors, consultants, preparing contracts, sending them out to tender. My job would hugely involve accounts and budgets, and getting the best works for the money that we have available to us. So there's a huge crossover there from one side to the other.
So Stephen, why are we in a field with the guys here behind us building a bridge?
Well, the troops behind us here are building a medium girder bridge. We're down here for 2 weeks on our training exercise, so we're in week 1 now, so we're just training to prepare for the exercise next week. So what's going on here is basically the troops are just practicing building the bridge over a dry gap as such. Like there is no gap to be bridged. By doing this we can highlight any problems that we have.
How does maths, tie into what we're doing right now?
Well, the particular type of bridge we're building here, the MGB, can actually be built in a number of different configurations. As we look here now, it's built in double story. It can also be built in single story, and the number of bays that can be constructed can be either increased or decreased. So I mean, in terms of working out weights and tonnages and configurations the bridge will be built in, maths is very relevant.
What advice would you have for students who are, say, watching this and potentially thinking about studying engineering?
It goes without saying anyone who's looking to get into engineering, this one needs to start off with maths. Now I know ideally it's if you can go down the higher level of maths, but I know there is routes now where you can maybe go ordinary level maths and then you can carry on from there and maybe get access into a postgraduate engineering course. And from then, if you're still interested, by all means look at applying to the Defence Forces. It's not for everyone, certainly, but there is a unique set of challenges there and opportunities that you're not going to get provided in other civilian organisations.
Engineering in itself for 5th and 6th years is so intimidating in that it's so large, and it's very hard to pinpoint and narrow down exactly what it means and which areas to concentrate on. All I would advise to people in that regard is to not try to see if you would be suited to that ahead of time. You don't know until you try it, particularly with the Defence Forces, and that was my attitude coming in. I'll give it a go, I'll see what it's about. It was a very interesting concept, didn't know if it was for me, and you give it what you have and it's paid off.
Engineering probably wouldn't be a typical career for a girl to consider coming out of an all-girls school traditionally. You obviously broke through that barrier. What, drove you to commit to it, and what do you think the challenges are for girls now thinking of taking the same direction?
What I would advise any of the girls out there to do is, if you think, you don't have to know at this stage, but if you think that it's something that you'd be interested in and you don't fall into the categories that seem to be put in front of you. When I was there, it was nursing, travel and tourism, and they just didn't suit me. I knew that, and I pushed through, and I was very lucky I had the support of my family, because they were going into parent-teacher meetings, hitting a wall themselves, being told, this is not on, she needs to go a different route. So I did choose the certificate route because I was nervous myself. I wasn't sold on the idea of engineering either. So I went down the route of a certificate, said if I did 2 years and I didn't like it, I could change, but I had something to show for those 2 years. But I decided that it was for me, and I kept going.
What do you like most about working in the Defence Forces?
The diversity. You come in the morning, you really don't know what you could be doing that day. You can plan your day as best you can. With the small numbers of engineers that are in the Defence Forces, you could be doing anything at all from one end of the day to the next. That's the key for me. It keeps the challenges and keeps the interest levels going.
In terms of career progression, certainly the intention would be in the Defence Force you'd never spend more than a few years in the same job, that you'd constantly rotate as an officer in terms of roles and in terms of location throughout the country. There's certainly massive scope for career progression. In different appointments, certainly within the engineering corps, maybe you could be involved with the field side of it, the combat engineering side, but then there would be scope to maybe move across to the maintenance side, where you might be looking at more, the civil side of the house in terms of energy awareness.
Would it ever happen that an engineer in the Defence Forces would be deployed, say, to help out in times of emergency?
Well, there has been an example in recent years where there was a member of the engineering corps was deployed as part of the Rapid Response Corps to Haiti to assist with after the natural disaster that occurred there.
There was also a couple of engineer officers in the past travelled after the tsunami happened, so they went over in a support element in relation to that type of thing, and then you would have the emergency response at home.
So actually there'd be a real element of reward. You can see you're actually directly helping out people by doing your job.
You're able to help people, and it's only the extreme weather conditions we've had recently that have seen how vulnerable people can be, and the support we can offer them, and it's very rewarding.
Last Sunday we moved into an exercise area just south of Kilworth, where we've been exercising for the past 48 hours. And we're going to move now into an area, the exercise area, and you'll get to see all the engineering assets deployed in a realistic scenario. So behind us here we have the MGB medium girder bridge. Again, you remember from last week we had this deployed in the training area in Kilworth. We've now moved the bridge on site, and we've deployed it in a live realistic scenario where it's crossing the River Funchton just to our rear. The bridge built in its current configuration can withstand loads up to 70 tonnes. Each of the MOAG APCs weighs 18.5 tonnes each. In terms of the calculations you have to do to determine what size bridge you need to build, obviously, yet again, you need to determine what actual load you want the bridge to take. From then, you take what span is required. An amalgamation of the two and some other mathematical calculations allows you to develop what configuration of bridge you need to build. And another important thing about the bridge here is the bridge isn't built in isolation. We've a trackway forward of the bridge and beyond the bridge. Bad weather on ground in tandem with heavy vehicles tends to destroy the ground. We have 50-metre spools of trackway which can be deployed. The low capability of our trackway is 70 tonnes. So yeah, when you combine those two together, it gives the engineers a great capacity to reach remote locations. So yeah, this is the infantry assault bridge that the helicopter dropped in earlier. Once it's on site, which you've a section of well-trained engineering soldiers, it can be built in 10 minutes. Unfortunately, when you're in a lot of overseas situations or a lot of situations that militaries find themselves working in, there mightn't necessarily be accessibility to fresh drinking water the whole time. So as a result of that, it's important that militaries have, and we have them here in the Engineering Corps, is water purification units. So this unit that we have here is the Beryl 3000. It has the capacity to purify up to 4,500 litres of water every hour. The concept behind how it works is a principle known as reverse osmosis. It'll take in water from a source, whether that be a river or a well. The water will flow through the plant system. Initially it'll pass through some filters which will just filter out the the heavy components, you know, big particles as such. From there, it'll move into three separate modules which are called reverse osmosis modules. After that happens, a small amount of purifying additives are added, and from there you get a permeate at the end of the process, which is drinkable water.
I hope you've enjoyed learning about the type of work done by the members of the Defence Forces, both here and abroad, and the vital importance that maths and engineering play in that work.